Hey there, mamas. I am so glad to be back with you guys tonight for another live in preparation of the Mamas Talk Money Summit starting on Monday. We are so excited for this event. We now have over 17,000 moms signed up for next week and more coming in every minute. And we really are excited. And one of the things that we hear over and over and over from the mamas in our community is I have to figure out my money because I want my kids to someday be good with money. And I know that so much of my own money baggage comes from my parents and my upbringing. And I want to be conscious of what I'm showing my kids and what lessons I'm passing down to them so they don't have the same struggles that I've had. And so tonight, I'm going to share a little bit about how the Mamas Talk Money Summit can help you really start to teach your kids the healthy money lessons that we all wish that we had. And then also how your role plays in teaching your kids those lessons and the different personalities your kids can have, right? And so first off, now that everybody's here and we're live, comment and tell me how old your kids are and whether or not you have your ticket for the Mamas Talk Money Summit, because we are going to have a ton of fun next week. And I kind of want to know the age ranges so we can talk a little bit about money lessons for those specific ages for the kids, for the people that are watching. The second thing that I want you to know is that we have a giveaway that we're going to do tonight. We always do giveaways. You guys know that we always do giveaways. So for tonight, we're going to give away one of the sweatshirts that I'm wearing, the Radical Acts of Wealth Building, and a Mamas Talk Money workbook. So we have a printed workbook for next week's session. And you can see here, we'll find a good example. Okay, so we have Holly Reed Toodle session, right? This is her worksheet page for the parents. And so she has Holly is doing a session. We talk about like what Mamas Talk Money can do for teaching your kids and raising financially savvy kids, right? Our Legacy Day on Thursday is all about raising financially savvy kids and leaving a good financial legacy. And so Holly is speaking on Thursday, and she's doing our first ever Mamas Talk Money session designed for kids. So that session is one for your kids to watch on their own. Ages 8 to 14 is kind of the target age range, but you know, your kids can watch if they're a little bit younger, if they're a little bit older. Obviously, they're still going to get some good lessons in there. So there's a worksheet. There's worksheets for your kids, and then there's ones for you about thinking about how you want to imply Holly's lessons in the rest of your kids' lives, right? Karen says she has her tickets and her boys are ages 11 and 6. That's awesome. 6 is such a fun age to really start talking deeply about money, right? Ideally, we want to start younger. And let's talk about that for a second. So there's a lot of parents that we hear from sometimes that say they don't want to talk to their kids about money because it's an adult thing and it's a stressful thing and they don't want to put that on their kids. The thing is that that's not really how it works. If you view money as a stressful thing and you view money as something that's this big burden, maybe that's how they'll view it too. But for kids at a young age, they're curious about money. Money is this mysterious kind of amazing thing, right? It's what gets them the things that they want, and they want to know more about it. It's why, you know, you get young kids asking for $1 or asking for toys. And as soon as your kid can count and can ask for things, it's time to start talking to them about money in a positive way. And so studies have shown that by age 3, most kids understand the basic concepts of economics. The fact that like we buy and sell things, that there's money that we do that with, they understand the basic concepts. And so you can start to teach them some of the tenets. I think I got off track and I was telling you guys about the giveaways, and then I didn't actually tell you how to enter them because I got so distracted by Holly's page. To enter to win the sweatshirt and the workbook, hit the share button, make sure it's a public share, and we'll pick somebody who hit that share button to win at the end of the stream. Okay, so kids understand the basic concepts by age 3. The reason age 6 is really fun is because they really are starting to build some of those skills and really start to think more creatively about money. They can do their own savings goals. They can understand a little bit more delayed gratification. So we talk about saving with young kids, and not that 6 is not a young kid, but we talk about savings with like 3 and 4-year-olds. You're talking about saving for a couple of weeks. It's really the longest that they can think about saving for something. For a 6-year-old, that starts to spread out, and you could also start to add in those entrepreneurial things. So that's really fun. And then obviously 11, that's when they've really got some autonomy and some independence. And one of the things I love about money lessons, and this is so funny. So this is a topic I'm super passionate about, if you guys can't tell. And so I have a whole plan for what I wanted to tell you guys today, but I'm distracted already by Karen's ages of her kids. And so the reason I think 11 is so fun is that middle school is kind of these lost years in so many ways, right? It's that little spot that we stick in the middle of school. Like you have your 5 years in elementary school and you have your 4 important years in high school. And then middle school, we just all have this like adolescent. We don't know who we are. We're separating ourselves, who we are as people. We don't feel understood and we're craving autonomy, but we're not really old enough for true independence yet. We can't drive, we can't work. And so when we talk about money with 11-year-olds, they're creative and they're wanting to show themselves that they can do something. And so I love savings goals at this age and entrepreneurship at this age. If your kid has a goal, a big goal, something they want to save for, a dirt bike or a computer or an iPad, right? Something that you're not willing to just buy them offhand, this is a way to say to them, okay, that's the problem. How do we find a solution? How could you earn that money? Okay, the iPad is $600. That seems like a lot of money. How could you earn $600? And let them work their problem-solving brains. And as soon as they start doing that, right? Maybe they start a little landscaping business, or maybe they do babysitting, or whatever. It can be small or big. But the first time they earn their own money from an idea they came up with themselves, it is such a confidence builder. And they feel independent because they are independent, right? They've earned their own money. They've reached their own goals. And so I really love money at that age because you can build incredibly happy mindsets, healthy mindsets around money at this age when it is a time with so much mental turmoil for so many other things at that age group. It is a place where you can really build a great, great foundation with money, especially if you started early and your kids understand some of the money stuff to begin with. Okay. So let's do a quick Mamas Talk Money, and then we're going to talk about through the ages, kids and money, and what your role is and why it's really important that you come to things like the Mamas Talk Money Summit and learn about your money and your goals to make sure that your kids thrive. And guys, if you have questions, you want to tell me about your kids, you have a question about teaching them a certain concept or something you struggle with, let me know, and I will answer it. I'm always watching the comments. So Mamas Talk Money is 5 days. We're going to go through a number of themes. We're going to talk about thriving mindset. We're going to talk about foundations. We're going to talk about security and investing. We'll talk about legacy, which is all about your kids, right? And then we'll talk about passion and purpose. And so Kate says her kids are 4.5 and still awake. My son is also 4.5, and I think he's asleep though. He's not here. My kids have actually gone to my in-laws through the summit because there's so much craziness that they know they kind of need to just separate. But the way the summit can help your kids is that, first off, you're getting a good foundation in your finances. And the more confident and happy you feel with your finances, the more your kids get that reaction, right? They think about and they talk about money the way you do. And so the better relationship you have with money, the better. On Legacy Day, we're going to have a session on teaching young kids about money. We're going to have a session about raising financial grown-ups. So that's like age 16 to at 25, like really getting them out of the house and onto their own feet, and what lessons do they have to learn to do that. We're going to have Holly's session for kids age 8 to 14. We're really covering the gamut. One thing that we added this year that is really, really fun. So the Mamas Talk Money Summit is free to attend, but we have a ton of amazing bonuses, and you can extend your access with an all-access pass, a 30-day pass, or a lifetime pass. The 30-day pass is currently $29, and the lifetime pass is $69. What it comes with is a financial literacy activity pack. And so we created an activity pack that has 12 different activities from kids age 2 to 14, 15 years old, okay? We spread it out and we gave you all these different lessons. And for each lesson, we actually created a page that tells you, one, how to do the activity, your kid how to play the game or do the activity. And then we have a note for you, for the parents, of what are they actually learning when they're doing this? Because sometimes it seems pretty simple, especially for the younger ages, like they're just sorting coins. What does that matter? There are actual real benefits to doing things like learning how to identify and sort coins. And so we explain that to you. So in that pack, I'm going to show you a couple things I printed out. We have savings trackers like this. So your kid can set a goal and then they color in each star as they get closer to their goal. And this is a really good thing visual is really good for anybody. Anytime you're tracking a goal, adults, kids, it helps our brains track progress and understand that we have come a long way, right? How far we have to go. And it's like a little win. Getting to color in the star is good habit building of a little bit of endorphins when you reach a goal. So we have a bunch of these savings trackers. So this is one. It's so cute with the little moon. We also have this one that is a gumball machine that's in there for you guys. And so then I think we have an aquarium one and a mermaid one. a bunch of cool savings trackers. And then we have activities and games. And so I'm going to show you a couple of these games. Obviously, we're not going to go through all 12 tonight, but the activity kit comes with one, and my 4.5-year-old loves this game. It's really, really fun. Kate says her kids just want to color in more savings tracker now. And yeah, and so that's actually a positive thing, right, Kate? Because like we talk about my son's savings tracker. So he has one currently for a remote control monster truck. Sorry, I'm getting the hiccups and it's so distracting. He has one for a remote control monster truck that he wants, and he has one for his current World Wildlife Fund savings goal, which is great white sharks. He wants to adopt, World Wildlife does the symbolic adoptions. He wants to adopt a great white shark. And so he also just wants to color in the squares. And so he thinks about, okay, so for him, he has an egg stand. He's 4.5 and he sells eggs. He thinks about how can he sell more eggs, right? And how can we save his money so that he can reach these goals faster? He asks about ways to earn money. And so it's good that they are excited to color in that chart. That's a good thing. And then making them wait is building that delayed gratification muscle. Absolutely. So this game, my 4.5-year-old loves to play. And it's just a pattern recognition game. Okay. So you have all these strips, and I think we gave you guys like 20 or 25 of them. And it starts a pattern with the coins. And so how you play is you give your kid a little bowl of coins. We give Henry a little bowl of coins, and he pulls a strip out of the pile. And he actually likes to put the coins on top of the colors. They don't have to, but you can put the coins on top. And then they have to continue the pattern down the strip. So this one goes penny, dime, quarter, penny, dime, quarter, penny, dime, quarter, penny, right? And so he continues. And then sometimes if he's having fun, he'll continue way down off the page. And so this is one of those examples where you're like, why is this financial literacy? Okay, why would this be financial literacy? So much early money lesson. And we're going to talk in a second about a more abstract concept. But for kids, understanding the coins, the weight of them, the feel of them, the fact that it has a different front than back, but it's still the same coin. This is a really good thing for kids to recognize that, different things can be represented in different ways, but still be ultimately the same thing, right? A penny can be written as 1 cent. It can be written as 0.01. It can be the back of a coin or the front of a coin, and it's all the same 1 cent. And so there's part of that is just coin recognition. The other part is patterns, right? And so pattern recognition is really important for long-term math skills, but it's also important for long-term decision-making skills of being able to see patterns in their lives and in their decisions. And so for this seems really silly. We're going to add a couple coins and he's going to be done with this strip, or he's going to do this one that's even easier, right? So we have different skill levels of strips in there. And then we also have a couple like blank strips for them to create their own patterns. This might seem really simple, but what they're learning is how to find patterns, how to look at the world around them and find patterns. And so that when they make a mistake, they can see, where did the pattern go wrong? When they do something well, they can see, okay, if I repeat that, maybe I'll do well again. And so that's really good. We talk about like building wealth. The best way to build wealth is to save and invest consistently, right? If I save and invest and I save and invest and I save and invest, I have money for the things that I want to do in the future. And so they start to see those patterns. So that's one of the games that's in the kit. And guys, if you have questions about this, just let me know. Kate says, H cried tonight when her nightly allowance was supposed to go into spend and not save so she could color. Yeah. Okay. So we'll talk about that in a second, Kate. Cami says, I have a 1.5-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl. Oh, so cute. Okay. So the next activity, and this is another one that's really, really fun. And we've been playing this one with Hank since he was 2, and George started playing recently. George is 2.5. And so this is a needs versus wants game. So you're going to print this chart, comes in your financial literacy pack if you get the 30-day pass or the lifetime pass. This is another one of the activities. And so the first thing you do is we talk to kids about what are needs or wants. And so for needs, it's something you have to live. Now that concept might be a little bit abstract to kids. And so what I say to Henry and what I say to George is needs are things that we need to keep us safe and healthy. That's easier for him to understand than like need to live, right? And wants are things that might make us happy, but we need to prioritize first what keeps us safe and healthy, right? Just like when we tell them when they're playing, they can have fun together and they can wrestle, but they can't hit because that doesn't keep us safe and healthy, okay? And so it comes with this sheet. And then what it comes with is a whole deck of cards, okay? And so the boys have to sort, or your kids, might not be boys, have to sort, is a tablet a need or a want? Are trees a need or a want, right? And so we have all these cards for them to start to talk about it. And what's great is they might do this on their own for a while, but I really like sitting with them when they play this activity and ask them why they sort things in a certain place. the best part of this game is the conversation and letting kids realize that not all needs and wants are going to be the same to everybody. And sometimes you need to think about how their brains work, right? And so I'll give you an example. Henry recently, I'm looking for the exact card, it doesn't matter. Henry recently told me he's playing the game, I was building a puzzle with George, and I see him put bed in the wants pile. I said, Henry, why are you putting beds in a wants pile? And he goes, well, you don't need a bed. You could sleep on the floor, you could sleep on the couch, and you would still be safe and healthy. And I said, that's true. What would you prioritize? I said, sleep is a need, right? Sleep keeps us healthy. And he said, yeah. So he said, what would you categorize as a need for sleep? And he said, I would say a safe place to sleep. Okay. And so a bed might not be your priority. You could sleep on a futon, you could sleep on the couch, you could sleep on the floor. And so at sometimes he puts bed in need, and sometimes he puts it in want, and sometimes he puts, he tries to put certain things in places that I wouldn't agree with. And that's okay, as long as they have a good reason for why they're putting it that way. And you can start a discussion of what needs and wants are. One, to watch your own language with your kids, right? And help them prioritize as they start to make choices about their budget and choices about their lives. But also so that your kids can start to think about what their values are and what matters, right? And so that they can start to create arguments for things and really logically think about things that might just happen automatically in their lives, right? Like this card right here is movies. And this is a need, right? This isn't a need, right? This is a want. But your kid has always been able to have this probably in their lives. Like for most kids, Netflix and TV and YouTube, it is a click of a button, and they have never thought about whether or not it wouldn't exist. And so when you actually show them like, okay, need or want, I know you do this every day, but is it a need or a want? And showing them that things that they think just happen automatically don't necessarily happen automatically, and that they're privileges or benefits to things. Okay. And so that's one of the activities. And the last one we have a whole bunch in there. This is just the last one I'm going to show you. We have a ton of money word searches. We have a couple money word searches. We have a couple money crosswords. And so one of the activities for older kids is actually like flashcard puzzles of different important money, financial literacy terms. And so those are in the word search, but then they're also in the crossword with different descriptions and definitions of those words. So those are some ways that the Mamas Talk Money Summit can help specifically teach your kids about money. Okay. We have the financial literacy pack. If you upgrade to one of the passes, we have the whole day of trainings on Legacy Day, all about teaching your kids about money, helping your kids with money. And so let's talk about what does it take to raise money smart kids. And just a reminder that if you want to enter to win the sweatshirt or the workbook, make sure you hit the share button, make sure it's a public share. I can't tell you how many people come into our community and they say, I've never really thought about money. Like it's there and I kind of make it work. But as soon as I had a kid, this other being was dependent on me. And I kind of was like, I gotta get my shit together, right? Like I gotta figure this out. I have a person dependent on me. They're watching me. And now I want to teach them those lessons. I want them to be better than I am with money. And how do I do that? And so often that's the starting point. How do I teach my kids about money? That's where people want the answer to how do I teach my kids about money? So I'm going to give you some of those answers, but I'm going to give you first the hard answer, which is you're not going to be able to teach your kid healthy money habits if you don't have healthy money habits. Now they might pick them up if their choice about how they manage money is a response to you where, you not managing money well was stressful for them. Some kids will go the other way and they will become super savers or whatever to offset what they're learning from you. But that's not a healthy money story, right? And so we can teach our kids all the lessons. Okay. We can tell them the right things. We can give them the right activities, but the majority of the time, you won't be doing those activities. You're just going to be living your life. And they're watching that every day. How do you behave about money? When your partner, if you have one, brings up something about the budget or money, do you both cringe? Do you argue? What language do you use with them? When they ask for something in the store, do you say, we can't afford that, put that down? Or do you say, we're not prioritizing in the budget right now. We're choosing to save money for XYZ. We're choosing to get these groceries, right? And making it always about choice. Like, what are you showing them about money? And so the best way to teach your kids about money is to get comfortable with your own finances, to have good money habits, and to be confident talking about money so that when your kids have questions, it's just a normal part of life. Money's not stressful. It's not this big scary monster. It's just a thing that we do in our lives and we handle. And sometimes we get it wrong and we admit when we get it wrong. And sometimes we succeed and we talk about what led to that success. And we talk about that pattern recognition, what got us to that success, that language. Okay. And so if you want to raise money smart kids, the number one thing I would have you do is sign up for the Mamas Talk Money Summit. I know almost everyone here already has their ticket. Sign up for the Mamas Talk Money Summit and go to Thriving Mindset Day because that's day one. Okay. You're going to go and you're going to look at your money stories and you're going to think about what did you learn about money from childhood? What baggage are you carrying and how can you start to offset it? And we're never going to make all our financial anxiety, all our financial problems go away. That's not how this works, right? Money is so core to our sense of safety and security that we're always going to have some financial anxiety. We're always going to have some struggles, but we're going to learn better tools to work with it so it doesn't cause a downward spiral. And so that when we get those negative feelings coming up, those limiting beliefs, we know how to respond to them, right? And we know how to stop ourselves and reground and move forward, okay? And so your kids are going to watch all of that. And so the number one way to raise money smart kids is get your own crap together, right? The next thing is talking about it as much as possible. And this is a place, so we're going to start with the young ages, right? Because I said that kids can start to understand the basic concepts of money at 3. You've probably heard this in other parenting books, other things, but it comes to money too. Narrating what you do. Okay. And so I don't know if you guys have heard this with babies, toddlers. Comment if you say that, like, you know, we're going to the bathroom right now. We're going to go to the bathroom before we take a nap. And then like you're kind of letting them know what's coming. And for toddlers especially, there's a lot that's out of control and they don't understand, right? And so you could do that in the grocery store too. So if you're in the grocery store and you're comparing 2 types of cereal that have different prices, right? You can say, wow, we have Honey Nut Cheerios or we have Honey Nut Chex. And this one is $3 and this one is $2. And so this week we're going to get this one, right? That's very cheap for cereal, but you know what I'm saying. You can talk them through that. And you can actually, as they get a little bit older, and this is when we talk about developing, right? So if you've been having these conversations about choice since they were 3 and 4 in the grocery store with you or while you're shopping online or whatever, when they're a little bit older, they're 5, 6, you can walk into the grocery store with your child and say, we have $10 this week for snacks for your lunch. Here's the aisle for snacks for your lunch. You pick the $10 of snacks you get this week. And help them make those choices, right? And start to think about how money works and what limits there are and that money is not infinite. When you go to the ATM, say you pull up to the ATM or you walk up to the ATM and you tell your child, mommy's money or parents' money is in the bank. We deposit it in the bank to keep the money safe. I'm now taking that money out that I worked to earn to go spend on something else, right? Tell them where the ATM comes from because the ATM is a real abstract concept for kids that there's this thing in the wall that spits out money. This is not something that they understand at all, okay? And so narrating what you're doing from an early age and watching your language. I think like one of the funniest things I've heard is needs versus wants, right? And so we watched our language with the kids and everything that we do, right? Like, let's say I'm sitting downstairs, it's after dinner, and I look at my husband and I say, I need a brownie. I stop and I look at him and I go, okay, I'm sorry. What I mean is I want a brownie. And so our boys start to watch that language too, needs versus wants. Do you need a cookie or do you want a cookie? Do you need to go outside or do you want to go outside? And so we talk about these things all the time. And so one of the funniest stories, there's another financial educator that her daughter started calling her out for it when she didn't catch it herself. And so like she actually spoke about this at the Mamas Talk Money Summit last year. She was standing at her back window looking at the backyard and she goes, we need a bigger backyard. And her daughter like jumped up and was like, Mom, we don't need a bigger backyard. You want a bigger backyard. And it was a total and she owned it. She was like, you know what? You're right. We don't need a bigger backyard. Our backyard is fine, but we want a bigger backyard. And so the language is really important in letting them understand what you're doing moment to moment. The next thing, after we talk about language and setting a good example and talking about our kids, the next thing is giving them the ability to practice. And so the earlier your kids get to practice with actual money. And now from a young age, I would say probably 3 to 7 or 8, I would use actual physical cash, like actual cash and coins. The reasoning for that is that, yes, by the time they're adults, there will probably be very little cash in use, right? But it's too abstract for their brains. Their brains aren't developed enough yet to understand like app-based, card-based money. It's just they can kind of get it. Like Henry understands that I work and I put money in the bank and then the money goes on my card. Like he understands that to some extent. But if I was to try to tell him the card has $10 and now you spend it and now the card only has $6, that's really a lot harder than if he's holding $10 and he has to give up money, right? That's much more easy for them to understand. So start giving them opportunities to work with money at an early age. The reasoning for that is because they have to see how it works. They have to start building up their delayed gratification muscle. And guys, if you have questions, I'm watching the chat right here and I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we're talking about a lot of stuff tonight, but we want them to make mistakes when they're little. We want them to make mistakes when it's a $5 mistake and not when it's a $5,000 mistake, right? And so some parents say, well, I just want to cover everything for them and I don't want them to worry about money until they're older and then we'll figure it out. Then the mistakes are bigger and they're less likely to understand the lesson. And so when we talk about allowance and starting to teach our kids, okay, we get money and we put some for spending, we put some for saving, we put some for giving, and letting them understand what those things are and let them practice setting a goal and saving for it. And so when we say practice with money, we got to keep it age appropriate. And we're going to talk about this a lot next week. We're going to get into a ton of detail. But one of the things I want to mention, because it gets screwed up a lot, is parents will have student loan debt or they'll have debt in general. And they want their kids to be better at savings than they were. And so they go to their 5-year-old and they set an allowance for their 5-year-old and they say, half of your allowance has to go into savings, right? I'm going to give you $6 every week, but $3 has to go into savings. But what they do with that savings money is they put it towards their kid's college fund or they put it in a long-term savings account for the kid. Because to an adult, that's what saving is, right? It's like, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to save it for you. To a kid, half of their money just disappeared. It was just gone. I was given $6 and then $3 went away. And that's because for them at a young age, really, especially that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that age group, they can't think 10, 20 years in the future. It might as well be Never Never Land. Like it's gone. That money is gone. And so for some kids, it's fine and they'll overcome it and they'll figure it out as they get older. But for plenty of kids, they don't want to save anymore. Saving becomes my money disappears and I don't get to do anything fun with it. And then they have this negative association with saving, that saving is about giving up control and giving up and not having choice about what your money does. And so we talk about giving them opportunities to practice. We have to keep it age appropriate because what we really want them to learn, we talk about teaching them about savings, is we want to teach them that saving ultimately gets them the things that they want. And that spending it all means that when we want something bigger in the future, we can't get it. Okay. And so here's an example. Hank's monster truck. We have 3 jars for Henry. We have a save jar, a give jar, or we call it a share jar, a save jar, a share jar, and a spend jar. His save jar is currently for a remote control monster truck. To a lot of people that we hear about, right? Kate says she can hardly think 10 years in the future. Yeah, especially right now. I can barely think a month in the future in 2020. Okay. His save jar. Some people are like, a monster truck, but then he's going to spend that money. That's not a savings, that's a spending, right? My Fitbit is once again telling me that it's time for bed while I'm live. No Fitbit, I'm not going to bed right now. Okay. For him to save for that monster truck is going to take him at least 2 months, probably 3 months. And so that's far enough that he can see that progress, right? He has a savings chart. We actually have a bunch of these that I've made. And so they're not all in the financial literacy pack, but like Hank has one similar to this that has monster truck tires on it. And then it's got a monster truck in the corner. I'll hold it up next week. I'll bring it up next week. So he can see the progress. It's a small enough savings goal that he can color it in and he feels like he can achieve it. And then when he gets to buy that thing, it is so exciting. Like it is like he has won the lottery, right? He's colored in the last block and it's amazing. And what he learns from that is not anything about spending. What he learns is that he set a goal and he can achieve it, right? Kate says, remember, sleep is a need. It is a need, but not at 9 o'clock at night. Okay, so they're learning that. Now his next goal, maybe we set it for 4 months, maybe we set it for 6 months, and you keep stretching it out. And so you want to give them some opportunities to practice. Now, if your kid decides they want to save up for what you think is the stupidest, most breakable, useless toy in the world, let them do it. Let them do it. Save up, buy the thing, and let it break. And that is so hard to do. It is so hard to do as a parent because you're watching them and you're like, this is a mistake. I know it's a mistake. Like, let me fix it for you. And you can't let them fix it because this is what they get to practice, but practice means also feeling the consequences. And so let the toy break, let them be really upset, and let them recognize that that money is now gone and they can't use it for something else. And this is not a place to come and say, when we teach about raising money smart kids, this is not a place to walk into their room and go, see, I told you. That's never helpful. That's not helpful as adults. It's definitely not helpful as kids. What we go in and we say, I'm so sorry about your toy. What would you do differently if you could do it again? And let them think about it. Let them explain and let them prepare. And maybe next time, if it looks like they're going to make a similar mistake, don't step in and stop them, but maybe say, hey, do you remember what happened with that XYZ toy? And see if they choose to make a different decision, okay? So figure it out. So Kate says, so when my kids want to take their spend jar and use it for save jar, go for it or keep them separate? This is really up to you, Kate. I would say that they need to keep a certain amount in spending. You could tell them, like, once you have $5 in your spending, you can put extras in saving, right? You set some limit. And so what you want to say to them is like, hey, I want to make sure that if you want something, you want a lollipop at the grocery store, that you have some room to spend. Saving is really good, and I'm really proud of you for saving this big goal. But there's other things that you want in your life too, and I want you to have the space to do that. And so maybe set some kind of limit. The reason I say that is because I was 100% of the kid that would have wanted to put everything in save all the time. And then when I hit my savings goal, I didn't want to spend it. And some kids, once again, these hiccups, oh my gosh. Some kids are natural savers and security seekers, and what they want to do is save. That's not really a healthy money mindset either. Normally, there's some anxiety that goes with that. And as much as it serves you because it builds wealth, it doesn't serve your overall happiness. And it forgets that money is a tool. Money isn't valuable for money's sake. Money is a tool to help you build the life that you want. And so you don't want to let your kids completely just throw everything into savings. You want to teach them that it's okay to set some money aside for some fun things sometimes. Okay. And so we have a few new people on. So guys, let me know if you already have your ticket for the summit. If you don't sign up for Mamas Talk Money, and remember that we're running a giveaway. So we're giving away one of these sweet sweatshirts that I'm wearing and a printed Mamas Talk Money workbook. I will mail it out to you tomorrow so that it'll get to you by Monday at the latest, and so that you have it for the giveaway. So to enter the giveaway, hit that public share button. Okay. So Jade says, I love this perspective you're giving. I keep thinking I don't have to worry about it yet because my little one is 2.5, but she's old enough to pick up on our emotions and responses to everything. Yes. That is absolutely true. They're watching you and thinking about those emotions. And this is fun. Like 2.5, that's such an easy, fun age to start talking about it. Like with George, we play the needs versus wants game. He gets it kind of. Like he understands enough. Some of these cards are kind of a line, right? And let me see if I can find one. Let's see. That's not a line. Okay, a phone. Henry and I have very good conversations about the phone. Okay. The knee-jerk reaction is that a phone is not a need because it's like his tablet, right? When he was younger, it automatically went in wants. But now we talk about that the phone is how he talks to Grandma B and Pop. The phone is how we call if we're in trouble. And so the phone has all these values that might make it a need. Now, parts of the phone are a want, right? So we talk about how Kidopia, which is one of his learning games on the phone, that's a want. That's not something that he needs. But there's aspects of the phone. So we can have really detailed conversations about a specific thing. At 2.5, they're not ready for that. George is like need, want. And that's totally fine. But 2.5, we do fun things with them of like, let them hand over the credit card, right? When you're narrating, say, okay, we're ready to pay for the groceries. The money is on mommy's debit card or credit card. Can you hand it to the cashier? And Hank used to love doing that. They fight over who gets to hold the receipt after they pay, right? And so they start to learn the concepts and the perspective. Okay, so we talk about watching your language from the beginning, really close, giving them opportunities to practice. The next thing we talk about opportunities to practice is autonomy, okay? So you can set guidelines and parameters around how your kids use their money and how it has to be, you have to save at least this much every week, or you're not allowed to spend money on this thing without mom and dad's approval. But then you have to step back. And the older they get, the more you have to step back. And so when we think about autonomy with money, there's a lot of people who have difficult money stories related to power, okay? And someone else taking power of their money from a young age, telling them what they were and weren't allowed to buy, telling them where they could and couldn't work, how they could and couldn't earn money, right? And there's a lot of limitations around, hey, I earned this money, I went babysitting, and dad told me I had to take half and put it in savings, and he took half of the money that I earned. That's really hard, okay, for kids. And so the more autonomy you can give them and say, set some rules. So one of the exercises that a speaker, Annette Economides from Money Smart Family, gave last year was her kids around age 10 got to take over their own clothing budgets, right? So the parents sat down and they said, okay, per year, each kid gets this much money for their clothing. They set some parameters for their kids, like, hey, you need this many pairs of school pants, this many pairs of shirts, you need a new pair of shoes. Like, here's the idea of what we think you need. You go figure out how to pay for it, right? And so they set that budget based on how much they, there's different ways to do this. My favorite one is the Land's End rule, which is basically like figure out that like average quality brand that you would normally buy them and assume they buy all the items in that average quality brand and give them that budget. And now your kid might want to go buy fancy boots or the fancy pair of jeans, but then they have to allocate the rest of that money in a way that they can save somewhere else, that they go to a thrift store, that they shop clearance and coupons to make sure that they can get their clothing that they need. And so you're paying for it, but you're giving them the opportunity to budget and practice and have choice about something, right? If they need to save for something, right? So you might say, hey, when we go on vacation, mom and dad will pay for everything. Like, we will pay for food and drink and you'll each get this much money for fun stuff. But anything else you want, you're going to have to pay for. So if you want, some extra money for souvenirs, or you want something, you're going to have to save up for that and let them know ahead of time. Like, hey, we're going on vacation in 3 months. You might want to be saving up some money for certain things. Or if you want to go somewhere, you want to go away for a weekend with a friend, you're 13, 14 years old, you're going to have to cover the expenses of that because we pay for the family vacation, but you want to go somewhere else, you have to pay for it. Let them problem solve. Give them that autonomy. Help them dialogue and do Q&A about it and say like, hey, well, what are some ways you could earn money? And they might ask you, could I be paid to do anything around the house? And you can decide as a family if that's something you want to do. Or if you say, you know what, we don't really have anything for you to do right now. What is something you could do for somebody else? And that's where you start to hear the entrepreneurial ideas from your kids, which are really brilliant. But giving them that autonomy in space. And so this is another thing that we've heard as well, which is increasing their allowance as they get older to cover the things that they need to cover, right? So as you get to age 16, maybe you're willing to cover, their Netflix subscription and their car insurance for them, but that money gets transferred to them and they have to make those payments. And if they don't budget their money and they miss it, well, they don't get to drive until they pay their car insurance. Obviously, you're probably paying the majority of the car insurance, but if they can't pay you for their portion of the car insurance that month, well, then they don't get to drive until they figure it out, right? And so giving them opportunities to really experience what managing money looks like, and when they have choice about where that money goes, that autonomy. The last thing is really giving them the tools to grow wealth. And so often when we talk about teaching kids about money, it's just the basics. It's budgeting, it's limitation, and they don't feel like there's that ability to become a millionaire. And so as they get older, you start teaching them about compound growth. You start teaching them about investing. You start teaching them about entrepreneurship in a way that's relatable to their age, right? And if they ask a question, if they hear you and your partner, if you have one, or you and your friend talking about retirement, and they ask something about it, we'll say like, well, we invest in the stock market and it works like this. Or, hey, you know what? We invest in the stock market, but I don't really know how it works. So let's pull up a YouTube video and let's watch it together. And let them know where you have holes in your learning too. But start to teach them in ways that people get rich. And one second. Okay. Cut out for a second. Okay. They are really enamored with wealth and they want to know what that looks like. And so you get to go to them and say, okay, if you invested $100 a month from age 16 until retirement, you would have this much money, right? Like show them exactly what it takes and that a small amount of money can go a really, really long way. And then once they see that, show them ways that they can really grow that money, right? You can say like, okay, you would need to start investing $100 a month at 16. Let's talk about how you could earn $100 a month, right? What are the ways that you could do it? If anyone else has questions, like I'm going to wait a few minutes and give you guys some chance to ask questions. Next week, we are going to be doing a ton of Q&As. Like I said, we have the financial literacy pack for your kids in the All Access Pass, and that is so valuable, especially if you're trying to figure out some early ways to teach them about money. You haven't been talking to your young kids about money. There are step-by-step ways in there to do it and to do that work. And so check that out for sure. And then come to the summit next week because you are going to be surrounded by literally thousands of other mothers who are working on this with their kids. And I want to leave you with a stat, okay? 78% of girls want to learn about money from their moms. More than half of boys want to learn about money from their moms. Our kids want them to teach us these lessons. And so we need to go get the skills to learn those things. And that's what we're doing at the Mamas Talk Money Summit. That's what this is all about. I can't wait to see you next week. I can't wait to see your kiddos at Holly's session on Thursday. That's at 6 p.m. Eastern time. I can also watch the replay. Even with the free pass, you've got 48 hours to watch every session. Do that workbook. And it is going to be just a huge investment in yourself and the lessons that your kids get in the future. And this is the first step to building generational wealth, is starting to think about, what are my kids learning? What are they going to walk into the world knowing how to do that I didn't know how to do? And this is it. This is the foundation. You can do it. You're amazing. If you don't have your ticket to the summit yet, it's above this video. Go check it out. If you don't have your All Access Pass, there's a link up there for that as well, for the 30-day pass or the lifetime pass, both of which come with the financial literacy pack with all the really cute little games for them to learn about money and the explanations of how those games help your kids learn. So I'll see you next week, mamas. We are going to have so much fun.